The next month of this investigation could be some of the dirtiest politics and the most aggressive language imaginable. Really? I think you're going to see. I mean, Giuliani called Comey last night just an absolute liar. Jim, I know Donald Trump. I know Jim Comey. With all due respect, Jim Comey, you're a liar. You're a liar. Now, one of the excerpts from the speech last night, and I don't want to get into this too early, but rest assured, we're in for a heavyweight fight. I have no idea how Bob Mueller responds when someone confronts him the way he'll be confronted. He may be just as tough as they are. I'm sure he's got thick skin. He's been in that world for a long time. You don't survive in Washington at the level he has without having thick skin. But this is not going to be the warm and fuzzies anymore. Ty Cobb wanted to negotiate in traditional fashion, and it just wasn't working. And once again, please rationalize to me. I don't care if you're never Trumper. Rationalize to me why you think it's appropriate for a special counsel to include in his questioning of the president a subject of the investigation. Give me your opinion of. There is no rationale.
I think wasn't one of the questions basically give your opinion of me?
Correct. Give me your opinion of the job you think I've done.
Yeah.
Give me your opinion of why you think Jim Comey wrote the book he wrote and it says the things he says. That's none of your business. And Giuliani will say it just like that. Bob, that's none of your business. Next question. Bob, that's none of your business. Next question. And I'm telling you, this is going to turn into a New York City street fight. And I laugh at the media. And I mean, I laugh out loud at the members of the media last night trying to account for what Giuliani and Trump are doing. You got these 30-year-old, 28 to 30-year-old, fresh out of college kids who have been told in, journalism classes all over the country, Ivy League in particular, here's how the world works. And here comes Trump and Giuliani, who are far more seasoned than you could ever imagine at understanding how the world works. And they're saying, well, Giuliani's making a grave mistake. How do you know Giuliani's making a grave mistake? Trump's miscalculating here. What do you base your assumption of that miscalculation on? Your Journalism 103 class? The term paper you wrote 4 years ago? It's laughable to me. These people, the Don Lemons of the world. Don Lemon said, my jaw dropped when I heard Giuliani say this or that. Well, Lemon, you need to get out in the real world a little bit. You need to get out amongst the universe of deplorables and understand there is a world out there that finds that sort of language and that sort of behavior not so offensive. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Wow.
Because he's got his sidekick, his New York City or fellow New York City
and you
brawler.
have a bit of a personal history with Rudy Giuliani, right?
I had Giuliani. I lived in the country in Evergreen, and we had a fundraiser when Giuliani ran for president, a very successful fundraiser out of the country. And, I don't know Rudy. We would be called minor acquaintances. And I think we've talked a couple of times since then. When John McCain was trying to get people to support his campaign in Washington, I'd always been kind of a non-interventionist and didn't have a big appetite for McCain. I had a friend of mine who was chairman of the Republican Party in South Carolina, and they asked me to go with them to Greenville to meet Giuliani, and I went to a dinner one night, probably 25 or 30 people there. And I liked what I heard. He was a person who was in command of the issues, command of the moment. I felt America needed a strong leader. Not that McCain was not a strong leader, but I felt that Giuliani, as mayor of New York City, had really handled himself well in light of all the events that happened. And we know, George Will, we beat up on George Will because I think he's an old school conservative, but George Will said that the governing of New York City under Rudy Giuliani's term was the most effectively conservative governed enterprise in modern American history. And a lot of people, I've heard this response to that when Will said, it was conservative government at its best. The way Rudy governed New York City was unbelievable. Now we can talk about some personal discretions and some other issues he's had, but his governance of New York City was absolutely a case study in how conservatism works. He built homeless shelters. He invested in things to get the homeless people off the streets. He knew tourism was a boon for the Big Apple, and he knew that people were not coming to New York City if they didn't feel safe. He took on some of the criminal elements, some of the unsavories in some of the districts in New York City, And Giuliani deserves a lot of credit. Well, I like that. I like the managing sort of aspect that he had demonstrated. And I supported Rudy. And then he called me or had someone call me one day and asked about a PD fundraiser. And we didn't have it in Florence, Italy. We had it in Florence, South Carolina, or just outside of Florence, South Carolina. But Rudy's a smart person. He's a little bit long in tooth. He's not as young as he was, obviously. And I worry a touch about that because that's kind of a young man's game. But I think he and Trump combined, you're going to see a lot of fireworks in the not-too-distant future, and they're going to put Bob Mueller in a place that he's hardly ever been, and that is on the defense. Now, Mueller will dig in. I mean, Mueller won't make a lot of public commentary. He'll say, well, I'm staying above the fray. I'm not going there. These guys are a little bit, odd in the way they deal, but this is not going to be the Bill Clinton investigation. This will be very, very different. It will be in your face. I go back to the scene you and I were talking before the show in the movie Sully when the plane lands, and Mike Nunn, our good friend, was on that plane when it landed in the Hudson River. And, a lot of the people were worried about hypothermia and things like that, being in the water for an extended period of time. Some of the ferry boats rushed over. And in the movie, and I know Superman don't fly. They take, obviously creative liberties with certain things. But one of the ladies was being drug out of the water, and she says, I thought I was going to die. I was getting cold, and my friend's over there, and I think he's going to die. And the New Yorker says, ain't nobody dying in my city today, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Well, to me, that's the arrogance of the New Yorker. The attitude would be a better word. The attitude of the New Yorker. And, we got a lot of descriptives we could put with that New Yorker. Yeah. But I don't know. I just think you're going to see a lot of braggadocious and bravado with Giuliani and Trump. And it'll be, I'll tell you, if you're in the talk radio show business, this will be a lot of fun to cover because the one thing Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump have in common, they ain't scared. And I think one of the big thumbs that the government holds over people in these sorts of situations and circumstances is striking fear into your heart,
intimidation,
fear into your soul, intimidation into your mind, and getting you very uneasy. And they've got two guys now that have kind of lined up together that, forgive my English, ain't scared of much of anything. There have been a lot of water under the bridge with Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani. They've had their share of disagreements. I mean, they had some real big disagreements when Giuliani was mayor of New York City and Donald was a big developer. There were a couple of projects that Trump felt Giuliani was an impediment to. Giuliani felt he had an obligation to the city to do things that were not in Donald's best interest. They're fairly well documented. I mean, there's a couple of episodes in development that Trump thought he could count on Rudy and could not. But they are New Yorkers to the bone, New Yorkers to the core. They're street fighters. And as I've said many times on this show, the more Donald Trump can entice you into the street, the more advantage he has. It'll be very interesting to watch it play out. But it began last night when Rudy Giuliani went on the Sean Hannity show and basically set the stage by saying, Jim Comey, you're a liar. And Bob Mueller, you can't be trusted. I mean, and here's what will happen. Rudy will end up being the lead lawyer. Emmett Flood represented Clinton. He's one of these impeachment / special counsel specialists. He's known as being a very aggressive counsel. I mean, he's known as kind of other lawyers have had to woe him down. I mean, I understand in the Clinton impeachment and special counsel, the Ken Starr episode, that Flood was one of the guys who wanted to go for the jugular. And some other lawyers saying, whoa, now slow down. Well, that's been the modus operandi. That's the way you do business in Washington. And Trump's not going to do business like that. And as much as Ty Cobb tried to say, and I'll tell you where Ty Cobb lost Trump. Ty Cobb said, this thing will be wrapped up by late fall, Donald. Donald, this thing will be wrapped up by Christmas. Donald, we'll put a bow on this thing by the first of the year. Donald, by the end of the winter, this thing will be done with. And here we are in May of 2018, and we're not sure we're any closer to the finish line when we were. And I think Trump said, screw this. I'm not waiting around, sleeping at night, worrying, thinking about this. I got things to do as president, things we need to. So he found him the most rough and tumble team of lawyers imaginable. And Bob Mueller may win. Bob Mueller may win at the end of the day, but he's in for a fight. He's in for a battle. There was one takeaway last night. Giuliani said that Trump knew about the $130,000 payoff to Stormy Daniels.
That he reimbursed
well, I mean, there's nothing illegal about that. I mean, someone's trying to argue to me that it's illegal. I mean, Rudy made it clear it was not campaign money. I mean, it was Donald's money. Now, in a gaggle of reporters on the back of an airplane, as president, when someone asked him about that, he said, I know nothing about it. Well, I mean, I've said Trump takes liberties. You know, I mean, he says things in the most casual way imaginable. Sometimes he doesn't. Let me go here. Sometimes he lacks candor.
And apparently that's okay.
Well, I mean, if it works for one, it's got to work for the other. Sometimes he lacks candor. He gets caught up in the heat of the moment, and he just doesn't say the appropriate thing. He's not lying because McCabe didn't lie.
Right.
McCabe lacked candor, so Trump does lack candor, but Rudy made it crystal clear. Now the never-Trumpers make this assumption that they use campaign money. Unless Rudy's a bald-faced liar, Rudy said unequivocally yesterday, Donald knew about it conceptually. I don't think Donald knew the details, but Donald knew conceptually what Cohen was doing and what he was handling and taking care of. Newsflash, you may find it disgusting. You may find Donald Trump disgusting, but there is no law against consensual sex. There is no law having an illicit affair with a porn star. There is no law paying that lady money to keep her mouth shut. Once again, you may find that disgusting. You may find it beneath the dignity of the office of President of the United States. But there is no law for being a jerk. There is no law against being a philanderer. There is no law against giving a lady a bunch of money to keep her mouth shut. Once again, they'll try to tie it to campaign finance, but Rudy made it unequivocally crystal clear. This was Trump's money. This was Cohen's money. Trump reimbursed Cohen. What he probably did, Rev, what I would imagine, and this is the way these guys work. This is the way the business guy works. I mean, a lot of people don't understand this. You got something to take care of. You don't really know how it's being taken care of. And you put a guy on retainer and you pay him $30,000 a month for 6 months on retainer. You know he's not doing anything, or if he is doing something like that. You know conceptually exactly what the guy's doing. He's not working on a case for you, but you've got him on retainer. He pays Stormy Daniels $130 via the retainer. He reimburses himself because he didn't really do any work for Trump. That's the work he did for Trump, and that's the way Trump paid him. So Trump can always say, I didn't give him the money to give to her. I had the guy on retainer. Well, I mean, that's Trump's world. And to be honest with you, that may bother you. Doesn't bother me a bit in the world. I mean, I'd bake that in the cake with Donald Trump. I imagined Trump had a lot of lawyers on retainer doing things for him. But newsflash, once again, we'll conclude this segment. Having consensual sex with a porn star is not illegal. Having consensual sex with a porn star while married is not illegal. Paying that lady to keep her mouth shut is not illegal. There's nothing illegal about that unless he used campaign finance. And then you know what it is? It's a violation of campaign finance law. It's not impeachment. There's not a criminal investigation. There's not a special counsel. And I think what Giuliani tried to do last night was take that off the table, because that's sex and salacious. That's something we like talking about. You know, the MSNBC crowd, the CNN crowd, they love talking about Stormy Daniels because there's some salaciousness there. That there's something, well, I got a girlfriend and she was a porn star. Let's keep up with this. Well, I mean, if Rudy says in essence, hey, Cohen paid the lady off, Trump had him on retainer, I guess that's how Michael paid himself back. I don't know. You're being real inexact about that. I mean, they know exactly what they did, but you know what? You don't know anybody's explanation there. Donald Trump doesn't owe anybody an explanation. If you find that so disgusting that you can't vote for him again, you're entitled to that opportunity. But if I were Trump and Giuliani, and I believe what Rudy did last night was take that off the table. I mean, he made it clear, and he better be sure, and he better be right. But he made it clear last night there was no campaign money used in paying this lady, or Michael Cohen paying this lady, and Trump reimbursing. And I'm making this up. I mean, I don't know that that's the way it went down. I would imagine Cohen paid the lady the money, and then Cohen got put on retainer, sent Trump 6 or 7 or 8 bills equaling $130, $25,000 on a retainer 1 month, $30,000 on a retainer, you know, maybe $75,000. I don't know. And I don't know that that's how it went down. I just got to believe in Trump's world, that's how things get taken care of. And believe it or not, there's a lot of things in Trump's world and people like Trump that get taken care of like that. But the question is, was there any campaign money used? Giuliani says no last night. If he's right, Stormy Daniels doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore from a legal perspective. And what do we have a special counsel to do? Find out the legalities of the matter, not what your opinion is of one thing or another. Take a break. Back in a minute. Good Morning PD Live 95. Thanks to our good friends at Schofield's.